Welcome back. So the National Prosecuting Authority has confirmed the 26 illegal miners who resurfaced from the Sebei mine in Barberton have been granted bail. Nearly 500 Zamazamas have been arrested. Some have appeared before the Barberton Magistrates Court on various charges, including being in the country illegally. NPA Mpumalanga spokesperson Giwusa says the matter will return to court next Monday.
The accused in the matter, the first group that appeared before this court was 64. They are facing charges of theft of gold-bearing material, trespassing, as well as being illegal in the country. So that group, no one was granted bail, and the matter was postponed until the 12th of August 2025 for verification of addresses. So there is another group that appeared in court, which comprised of 433. The accused in the matter are facing charges of attempted theft, as well as being illegal in the country. In this group, only 26 accused were granted bail. So those that were granted bail are those who have fixed addresses. So most of the accused, since they are coming from different countries, some are coming from Mozambique, some are coming from Zimbabwe, they were all denied, not that they were denied bail, but they were remanded in custody, and the matter was postponed for verification of addresses and possible bail application.
Well, Mpumalanga Police spokesperson Donald Mdluli says all illegal miners at the Sebei mine have resurfaced.
The information that we normally receive is through the engagement that we have between ourselves as police with the mine management as well as the mine security. So if they give us information regarding that, for now the mine has indicated to us that there are no people that are underground. So hence we cannot go there and maybe conduct an operation in trying to ensure that those that are underneath come to the surface. So we are not continuing with any operation in that area for now. However, Operation Vala Umgodi continues to be conducted throughout the province.
Well, now to delve deeper into the latest incident of illegal mining and whether the country has a real handle on this crisis or not, we bring in our panel. We're looking forward to getting your views. We are joined by Mpumalanga Community Safety MEC, Mr. Jackie Macie, and with the General Industries Workers Union of South Africa, their president, Mr. Mametlwe Sebei, also joining us. We're hoping to also hear from mining expert Peter Major and Mining Forum South Africa's Mike Mohlala. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. An absolute pleasure having you on what is increasingly a crisis that we're seeing in various parts of the country. MEC, I do want to start with you. I know that you have been watching the story in Barberton very, very closely, the matter in Barberton very, very closely. And we know that police officials at the moment saying all the illegal miners at this particular Sebei mine have resurfaced. But just your understanding of the situation as it stands at the Barberton mine, especially where illegal mining is concerned, the operations that still need to be running where we are right now.
Thank you very much, Naledi. Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers at home and the President, Mametlwe Sebei. Indeed, we are comfortable with the latest development as the Department of Community Safety and Security in Mpumalanga. After we have undertaken this operation Valumkoti, hence we arrested these 18 people. But our major concern is the issue of crime. As you know, that the department has been trusted with that responsibility to make sure that community, even in Barberton or around Mpumalanga and also in South Africa, are safe. So our operation emanated after we've realized that when we released the crime stat, the recent crime stat, when the minister released it, we noticed that Barberton is contributing, is amongst the top 5 areas that are contributing or are pitching up at the level of at the top 5 when it comes to crime. So we undertook this operation to find out exactly what is the problem, because we were continuing calling Imbizo an awareness campaign when it comes to crime, and also the crime that are most committed around Barberton is legal firearm, possession of legal firearm, murder, attempted murder. These are crimes that were a major concern to us. Then we now understand that indeed, because of this legal minor, Barberton is a small area, Naledi. Then you can tell that if you have so many people let it go, 518 we are counting now. We are not sure, but we are not denying the information that has been given to us by the management of the mine, that because it's their security that are working together with SAPS, assisting us in terms of identifying and able to go under surface to check what is happening and how many people are left, how many, if they say now there are no people underground, but we are going to continue with the operation. Generally, it affects the community through crime. We are unable to combat crime easily because those who are committing crime, we find it difficult to trace them because of their identity, because they are, most of them, majority of them, they are foreign nationals.
You talk about the majority of them being foreign nationals, but in part of the community, a lot of the community members that have spoken out also speaking about how some of these illegal miners are members of their community. Some of them very much locals that, you know, are just desperate for opportunity. So perhaps, Mr. Sebei, you can help us with just why we're seeing such a big number in Barberton, in your understanding, and just, you know, what you've gathered from the community in particular and how they relate with illegal miners, especially when you think about the lesson that we learned from Stilfontein, where for the most part you found community members in Stilfontein also quite reliant on the economy that came from those illegal miners.
So you're right, Daddy. I mean, I think just to say it is foreign migrants is oversimplifying the issue. But I think also let's address this issue of foreign migrants. Reality is that the foreign migrant, or rather, you know, black migrant labor system remain the mainstay of the mining, you know, economy in this country, not less with, you know, the endorsement of government, which has inherited most of the agreements that were made by apartheid and colonial regimes with, you know, the Portuguese regimes in Mozambique, and of course the governments in Lesotho. Those agreements are still continuing through various memorandum of understandings that becomes the basis for recruitment and of course contracts of employment between mining companies in this country and of course the workers in Mozambique and so on. So it shouldn't be surprising at all that there is significant concentration of the, you know, migrant workers in these communities. But I think, and these migrant workers are part of those mining communities. And along them is obviously South Africans who are either participating directly or they are also benefiting from, you know, the artisanal mining that developed in this. And I think the problem here is a growing poverty, levels of unemployment, particularly when mines close in a number of these areas, but even when mines operate because of the colonial structure of mining, which has two fundamental elements: a cheap migrant labor system I've spoken about, but also extractivism, which entails, you know, extraction of raw materials that are imported, that are exported raw as they are without any beneficiation, without any economic diversifications, and which of course leaves communities extremely poor with catastrophic levels of unemployment during operations, but which also get even much more worse when these mining companies invariably abandon communities, because nowhere do we have mines be properly closed. They're abandoned, not only with the holes unsealed, but in many instances, obviously, it's also the workers and their families and communities that get abandoned without alternative jobs, without alternative industries, and economies that are simply incapable of transition to sustainable post-mining communities.
Yeah, thanks for that. Let's bring in Mr. Peter Major here, who is a mining expert. Peter, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. I wonder if you agree with the sentiments shared there by Mr. Mametlwe Sebei of Lawyers for Human Rights, a quick correction of which organization he's representing for us this evening. If you agree with that, the problem really comes from the mining industry or mining companies leaving communities, and so you have a vacuum, desperate communities needing to feed themselves, and that is why we're seeing this boom in illegal mining. But I do want you to also, as you start to tackle this, how is it that we're seeing such large numbers? I mean, if we look at Stilfontein, 1,500 miners that we saw come to the surface in Stilfontein. Here we're talking about 518. These are large numbers, and we're talking about just 2 mines. One can imagine just how many of these scenarios we've got playing out in various parts of the country, Peter.
Boy, I don't want to sound boring or not monotonous, Naledi, but you have to trace a problem back to its roots. This country was the world gold capital of the planet for over 100 years, okay? And it took foreign investment to build that industry. You know, we couldn't start on our own. Mines cost huge amounts of money, and it's very risky. We were a young country. We didn't have that kind of money. We didn't have that expertise. So we needed foreigners to build this gold industry, and they did. They piled in billions of dollars. They brought in experts. We built mining colleges in this country. We trained our own experts. We trained our locals. So by 1987, 100 years later, we had the most fantastic gold industry the world had ever seen. We were ready for the gold boom, and everybody said they knew it was coming. They just didn't know when. But we were ready by 1987. Now, the great mine workers strike that was led by Cyril Ramaphosa and Gwai Montash, that turned the tables. That showed investors, the mining companies don't control the mines, we do. So then foreigners, they weren't so anxious to put money in the ground. And then after the elections in 1994, the locals weren't even sure they wanted to put money in the ground because there's talks of changes to our Mining Act. And when you put billions in the ground, you don't get a payback for at least 10 years. So you want to know that you own that property. We have changed our legislation so much, especially the last 20 years. We nationalized the mines. We took it away from the mining companies. We said we are giving that to the country. Even though you paid for it from private ownership, the state now owns those minerals, and you're going to have to fulfill all our requirements or you're not allowed to mine. So foreigners have left. Our local mining companies don't want to put money in the ground because they're not sure they'll get that money back, let alone a return on it. That's why they are abandoning mines. Capitalists do not abandon mines when the gold price is going up. They want to stay in the mines and make money. They want to get a return on their investment. So it shows how negative the environment is here, that people are abandoning mines in the highest gold price the world's ever seen. And it's devastating. We put 500,000 gold miners on the street. All this legislation has reduced our gold mining industry from 575,000 men to maybe 85,000 men. Maybe we've only put 490,000 on the street. But if we keep this current legislation and policy in place, there's no investment for gold mines. And so the syndicates are filling the place. Syndicates fill the place.
So tell me this, what is the legislation that then works for opportunities to stay in communities and that mining does not become an illegal operation? What is the right sort of legislation in your view, Peter?
Legislation that caters to investors. Legislation that appeals to investors. And we forget, just because we're at the bottom of Africa doesn't mean we're the only country on the planet. There is 200 countries we're competing with that also want investors. And we find out now there's gold in almost all countries. So they are shaping their policies and regulations to make it more attractive for investors to go there. And there's a finite pool of investors. They're not unlimited. Most investors want to go into IT, computers, media. And so there's only a smaller pool of investors that want to go in mining. And now they have 200 countries. If they want to play the gold price, they can invest in gold mines in 200 different countries. So we have to go back to wanting to be number one. We can't be happy being number 180 out of 200. We can't say, oh, let's get in the top 20 or 30. We have to aim our legislation and policies for number one. We want to be the first destination of any gold mine investment.
I do want to get to a point where
Can
we start.
respond on this?
Go ahead, Mametlwe, go ahead.
I think that we've got to, I mean, I must honestly be saying it's very troubling that in this day and age, we still really have a public discourse with people like this. Because let's understand what Peter really fantasizes about. He fantasizes about, right, an apartheid mining, where basically you have black miners without any form of rights on the basis of a system of a racial terror that basically condemned the miners to staying in a single, single-sex hostels for months conscripted without options of going to their homes and visit their families, and mining industries that could dispossess people of the land, evict them from the land without any recourse, and of course be able to extract, the minerals on the land without any consideration for the environment on the basis of the most brutal, racist regime, and you want us to have debate with that. Honestly, the reality is the mining industry, in the past 30 years, they've increased profits by over 4,900. Even as when wages increase in a post-Marikana period, I was there, I organized those miners, right? Wages have increased by, close to 300%. But even then, when you look at the earnings of the mining industry in the past 5 years, they have more than doubled. Why? Because as mines have been mechanizing, as mines have been raising levels of productivity, they've increased their earnings. That is not the reason that there is mass unemployment in this country. It's because of extractivism and obviously lack of investment beneficiation and diversification of the mining industries and mining communities with rural development means that many workers who are being taken out of the industry, mainly by mechanizations, are not finding any alternative means of employment and livelihood. Yeah. That is the real problem here.
Yeah, but this is what we need to do, though, because at the moment, and what you both are doing is speaking about the context of where we come from in the country and where the mining industry comes from and how we find ourselves in a position where communities are so desperate that we've got illegal mining happening in some of these areas. But we need to start talking about what we do about the problem that we're facing at the moment. I know that the MEC, who is joining us now, MEC Macie, has planned to return to the Minerals Department to address this crisis. We'll hear from him in a moment. Let's bring up some of the WhatsApps that have come in from our viewers. The number, if you'd like to share your thoughts with us on this discussion. How do we tackle illegal mining in our country? The number is 072-110-5584 to send us a WhatsApp or give us a call on 010-594-6010. Let's take a look at a couple of those. Temba Tavuka says, good evening, Naledi. The prevalence of illegal mining is a clear reflection of the failure of government. The country is now a banana republic thanks to the ANC. Temba, thanks for your contribution. Mpolisi says, I am from Barberton. The thing is, police officers are also working with these illegal miners. The government is fighting a losing battle. I feel bad for correctional services. The overcrowding is so terrible, and the fact that these illegal immigrants are going to chow our tax money is sad, so sad. Mpolisi, thank you for that. Develop, says the issue of so-called illegal miners is far from over because it is an organized crime that involves police themselves, politicians, of which some are mine bosses. As long as the law is not observed in closing mines after exploitation, lifespan is reached. As legislators, syndicates are in operation around the issue. At least that is rooted out. No inroads will be made in the fight. Okay, Velapi, thank you for that. Take a call quickly. Mduduzi is calling in from Germiston. Mduduzi, good evening.
Hi, Naledi. Good evening to your panel as well as your viewers.
Good evening to you, Mduduzi. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to propose solutions to this crisis that we're having on illegal mining.
Sure, yeah.
We have companies like Deba. As this morning, your journalists were airing their views that, they want these illegal miners to be legislated. And those are issues that are stretching back to colonialism, as Peter was talking about. And we've had public engagement on land expropriation without compensation, where countries like Swaziland and Botswana, the Boers said they expropriated mineral-rich land in there. when is the Constitution going to be amended to fix those issues? And the issue that you are having with the amended immigration bill, when is the Minister of Home Affairs as well as the President going to sign it so that it becomes an act, so that we can deal with the issues that the government is having when it comes to replacing the SNDF among the borderlines, and as well as fixing the issues that the policing are incapacitated, because even the EMA doesn't have the capacity to tackle the legal immigration issues. So these are issues that Parliament must sort out, as well as the specific skills that's needed in the mining industry.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mduduzi, saying where's the legislative changes that we've been talking about, Mduduzi, in Germiston? We are still joined by the Mpumalanga MEC for Community Safety, who's been keeping a close eye on things in Barberton for us, and he'll continue to chat with us. He has, of course, planned to written to the Minerals Department, asking them to address the issue of illegal mining. We'll hear from him about what it is he wants to see the DMRE do. On the other side of this, let's take a short break. We're back. Welcome back. Well, we continue to look at the issue of illegal mining in South Africa. This after it hit the spotlight once again after hundreds were arrested in Barberton and in Mpumalanga. And as part of our panel, we are joined as well by Mpumalanga Community Safety MEC, Mr. Jackie Macie. I know that one of the things that you have been working on is wanting to bring in the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. I'm keen to hear what it is that you'd like to see from the department in terms of their entry in Barberton. What is it that you want to see from the department, MEC?
Thank you very much once more, Naledi. Indeed, we are not talking about Barberton Sheba Mine only, as you know, that in Mpumalanga, particular the site of Lowfeld. We are also talking about Sabi, your pilgrim rest, that the department should come out and with a clear policy position or a clear political will in terms of what is going to happen with the mines that were decommissioned or commissioned as of now, because the one that they are decommissioned, they are the challenge of they are the main challenge in terms of inviting criminals within the community to come and do the legal mining on that one. Then also, you note also Sheba Mine is in operation, is commissioned as of now, but we do have those legal mine within Sheba Mine. You will note that Sheba Mine is to go deep is over 10 kilometers deep. So there are a lot of holes that are there where legal mining are using. So the department will come and assist us, even though the border, the Department of Public Works, in terms of the borderline, because these foreign nationals, they are not using the port of entry to come to South Africa. They are using the borderline, and the borderline is so porous. But we have, as I've indicated, we have elevated to the matter. This is what we want as the Department of Community Safety, that it should be addressed speedily so that we manage to protect our citizens. And also, once these mines are back to commissioned, will open job opportunities for the people of South Africa.
I wonder if that's something that we can actually see happening, Peter, right? Where we're seeing either mines that are decommissioned being brought back up, or that we just have a clear sort of policy or execution of what happens when a mine is no longer in operation, just so that you're able to at least have a clear understanding of what it is that is going on underground in that area. So what do we do from now onwards? That is the key question.
Boy, Naledi, there's so many things that have to change to fix this problem. We can say the gold price is causing this problem. If the gold price had stayed at $300 instead of $3,000, we wouldn't have had nearly as many illegal miners here. So that's something we can't control. We should be happy that gold price has gone up 10 times, but we're not that happy because we've closed most of our gold mines. We've retrenched most of our gold miners. So we can't change the gold price. But we know that influx control from foreign countries was always a problem, whoever the government was. But it exploded in 1994, just like when the Iron Curtain fell. So our influx control really started falling apart from 1994 on, and it's just porous as heck. We have massive numbers. I've seen figures up to 8 million people are in the country illegally, and I've seen the breakdown of the nationalities. It's terrifying. So how do we control unlimited influx control? We have some control over that. Those are our borders. But do we use army? Do we use police? Do we use the local commando that I understand has been disbanded? We have to have influx control. And the police, sure, our police can improve things, but what happens when they arrest these people? Do they send them back to their home in another country and then they just come back through a porous border? As long as the gold price is high, people are going to come here to mine gold. And because most of our previous gold mining companies are no longer here, there's only a few of them, all these abandoned mines are attractive for syndicates. They're attractive for criminals because they know there's gold in there and there's very little enforcement of trespassing. So it's not an easy solution at all. You have to do a lot of things much better than you're doing now. So I keep ranting about policy. Sure, change in policy, change in ownership of the mineral rights, that may have been one of the biggest factors that gave us this problem. Reversing that's not going to fix the problem overnight. But I'll tell you, if there was some private ownership of these abandoned gold mines, I think I could attract some investment, some local, some foreign, and why not try it? You know, it's not going to hurt the government to say, we're going to have an exceptional area here. We're going to allow foreign ownership or we'll allow private ownership of this one small gold mine just to see if it'll work. But it may be too late, but it's worth a try. You know, we can't just continue on like this.
Yeah. Mametlwe, I'm going to bring you in here, and I actually just want to humanize the discussion a little bit, because we can certainly sit here and talk about policy and what we need to do from a big business point of view. But as we run those images on the screen, you're seeing young, old men that have come out from underground. And I remember some of the individuals that we saw coming out of Stilfontein, absolutely emaciated. Let's not forget that 90 of them came out as dead bodies. And I do want to speak to just how bad the desperation is, because once we're able to understand the conditions that these people are working in, perhaps we're able to get to just how desperate the situation is. Mametlwe, I know that you hear these stories quite often. The conditions that these illegal miners are operating in underground, and how if you speak to someone from Barberton, for instance, who is they themselves an illegal miner, and we agree that some of them are foreign nationals, not all, what is it that they want to see in their own community? So let's start with the conditions that some of these young men that we see on the screen there are working with underground.
The conditions underground are horrific. There is no way and nobody that can ever really condone the work under the conditions in which these miners are working. I mean, as we have heard from the stories in Stilfontein, now increasingly so, they go underground for months without an end. In many cases, for over a year, for instance, and obviously that means, over a year without seeing the sun, working, without any, equipment of any standard that really meet, safety standards in modern mining, with poor food in conditions that are actually, organized in many ways by organized criminal syndicates, which I must say that evidence point to the fact that they involve police, security, but also the licensed mining corporations, because there is simply no way, Naledi, that you can tell me that, any of these miners are able to enter these mines without involvement of the mining security companies, but also transport these minerals from Stilfontein all the way to Mpumalanga, Limpopo, to the ports, and without the involvement of the police at a very high level, and more importantly, to trade them at the international market, because there's simply no domestic market for these minerals, right? Without any license, which license for the most part are monopolized by the big corporations. What do we need to do? What is absolutely clear, Nari, is that we've got to draw a distinction between disparate miners who want to engage in artisanal mining to feed themselves, their families, and take care of their communities. And what therefore needs to happen is that there are about 6,000 abandoned and derelict mines in this country. Over 2,300 of those mines still have substantial mineral resources that can be profitably and sustainably mined. And what that government needs to do is expropriate those particular mines and recapitalize them and make sure that they assist miners and many, working class communities and small business people in these communities to come together and capitalize these mines in such a way that a decent paying, safe jobs can be created and the means of livelihood for this community. And by creating a state buyer, you can then make sure that these miners are able to trade their mine, their products, profitably, and of course, in a way that can also be taxed and contribute to local economic development and so on.
Yeah.
Obviously, that insofar as, mines with a low, resource base. But for the most part, these mines, for me, just need to be brought under public ownership. They be beneficiated, as it happens in other industries, so that we're able to create a vertically integrated supply chains, supply lines that can create many more jobs, as we have done before with iron ore, that was able to beneficiate iron ore all the way to finished steel in a form of ISCO products at a time.
I want to take just one last comment from the MEC as we close off, and I know we've got a caller there. That'll be our last view, but MEC, just talk to us as we close off about the role of communities. I mean, you talk about how communities are reeling under, the crime that they're seeing. You said Barberton, for instance, caught your attention because it came out as the top 5 areas where crime was concerned in the province. And when you got there, you realized a lot of the problem came from the illegal mining. The role of communities then in being able to step forward and speak to authorities. We had a WhatsApp earlier that said that, well, most of the time these illegal miners operate with police, and so there isn't much respite for communities.
Now, lady, the difficult task that we are faced with as a department is that we have given a responsibility to police a human being. In the process, when you deal with human behavior, it's a very difficult task. But we want to appreciate the commitment in which the community is assisting us in terms of giving us information and working together with community. It started at Pilgrim Rest, Sabi, including the story of a Libyan that were in operation around Pebbles Farm. The information we are assisted by the community because we are working together, because the things that are happening when they are off duty within the community are scary. So community has been terrorized. Some you will find out, they say, I've noticed them, they were marching to say, no, they want them out, what. It's based on feelings and individuals. But generally, the community out there is traumatized. Hence, we say, let's come together and work as a collective so that we're able to combat crime, because our responsibility is to make sure that the community is safe.
Yeah, gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there because I think I've got the recommendations from all of you and your time so much appreciated. The MEC for Community Safety there, Jackie Macie, saying communities step forward, help us get to the bottom of things. Mametlwe Sebei there, who says expropriate these mines and let the communities have access to them. And Peter Major, mining expert there, who says, no, legislate so that mines have ease of doing business. Of course, Mametlwe Sebei is with Lawyers for Human Rights. You're still watching Newsfeed PM, the late edition.